Let's face it, on-call firefighting at 2 a.m. is stressful. So there's good news and there's bad news. The bad news is that you probably can't prevent incidents from happening, but the good news is that Incident.io makes incidents less stressful and a lot more valuable. Incident.io is a Slack-native incident management platform that allows you to automate incident processes, focus on fixing the issues, and learn from incident insights to improve site reliability and fix your vulnerabilities. Try Incident.io to recover faster and sleep more. It's been a long while since this happened to me, but I recently had the pleasure of being surprised by an AWS bill I wasn't expecting. For those who might not be fully aware of what my day job is, I'm the chief cloud economist at the Duckbill Group. For the last 5 years, my world has revolved around AWS billing intricacies and sorting them out for a wide variety of fascinating clients. In other words, you can dispense with the traditional children of Reddit style admonishments for me to set up billing alarms and budgets, and the accusations that I have no idea what I'm talking about. You can safely assume that for me to be surprised by an AWS bill, something very strange must have happened. And frankly, that's something that I find incredibly concerning. At reInvent last year, AWS announced Amazon SageMaker Canvas. If you look at the blog post that they put out back then, it says absolutely nothing about a pricing model, but that's okay. I spun up a SageMaker Canvas job in mid-December, played with it for roughly 45 minutes, and then turned it off. Or so I thought. Delving into my email inbox, I found a notification that I apparently skimmed and promptly disregarded from AWS back in April that said, in part, until March of 2022, session charges were not enabled. As a result, your use of Canvas only incurred model training charges. Starting in April of 2022, you will see session charges for SageMaker Canvas usage. For more information, see the SageMaker Canvas pricing page. I had ignored this, as I obviously wasn't still running a SageMaker Canvas application. I deleted it. This was obviously intended to let me know that going forward, I'd be charged in a different way should I reuse the service at some point. Time passed. In late June, I started getting a warning that my SageMaker usage was approaching the limits of the free tier. That was something that I didn't ignore. I logged into the relevant account, played hide and seek with the bill, and eventually found a SageMaker Notebook Run instance charge in Ohio. A thorough study of the notebook section of the SageMaker console revealed no notebooks in Ohio. So I did the responsible thing and opened a ticket with AWS support. To AWS support's credit, they escalated to the SageMaker team and responded relatively rapidly with the correct answer, but I never saw it. A mail filter rule of mine ate their response. That one's entirely on me. The next notice I got was from my own internal billing monitors 6 days into July, as the bill for this thing churned past $260. To say I was perplexed would be an understatement. After some digging on my part and some explaining on AWS's, I now know what went wrong. At launch, SageMaker Canvas only charged for actively running training jobs. This is what I killed after 45 minutes in December. However, I didn't log out of my Canvas session. Starting at the end of April, AWS added charges of $1.90 an hour for every session in Canvas. I got an additional 2-month grace period since that's the 2-month free tier the first time you spin up SageMaker resources. That kicked the can into July when my open session began accruing charges. As a result of these 6 days of sneaky session charges, AWS managed to reduce my stash of AWS credits by roughly $260. This session billing dimension is, to the best of my knowledge, unique among AWS services. I'm used to starting an instance or container and being billed for it until I terminate it. Never before have I been billed for a session that did not either auto-terminate, as in Amazon Workspace's ability to shut down after half an hour of inactivity by default, or conclude once my AWS console session had timed out or been logged out of. Further,
Unlike virtually every other AWS service, there is no way to see the resource for which I was being charged within the normal AWS console. I had to explicitly log into the SageMaker Canvas separate console to see any of this. From within that console, it was also not at all obvious that there was a running job, because there wasn't. There was simply a session that had not been logged out of, which was also unclear, and was apparently being billed as a running notebook. The notebook list was empty.
Developers want to code fast, security wants to ship securely. And it all, of course, needs to be at scale and in the cloud. Well, that's where Snyk comes in. Backed by industry-leading intelligence, Snyk is a security platform that meets engineers where they are, finding and automatically fixing vulnerabilities in code, open source dependencies, containers, and cloud infrastructure. By the way, I love the fact that we are not calling cloud infrastructure and containers the same thing. Snyk also integrates seamlessly into all the tools and workflows that teams already use, so they never have to slow down, including AWS offerings like Code Pipeline, EKS, ECR, and many more that people actually use intelligently. Start your free account at snyk.co/morningbrief. That's SNYK.co/morningbrief. Develop fast. Stay secure. Snyk.
Mistakes that eat AWS credits aren't able to be granted concessions, which you should hear as refunds, so my $260 in credits are now forever lost to me. This is fine. I am obviously not salty about this. But in return for having fallen into the SageMaker team's cunning trap, I come instead with $260 worth of uncomfortable questions for them about this entire experience. Let's begin. Number 1, my IAM user session times out after an hour. This is annoying, but I've learned to live with it. Why does a Canvas session not time out apparently ever? Did someone not flag the overloading of the term session during the pricing discussions? Number 2, it costs $2,000 to leave a Canvas session running for a month. Were I a student or individual learner on the hook for this charge, I would have been better off had I left the oven on instead of SageMaker. I mean, at least I can get insurance for house fires, and the deductible would easily be less than $2,000. Do you have any plans to offer AWS bill overage insurance? Number 3, do customers using this service routinely have sessions that last the better part of a year? To my mind, seeing a user session last that long means I should probably call that user either an ambulance or a coroner. Number 4, why was a service launched to general availability at the end of November, but a significant pricing intervention not billed until the following April? 5, at any point when deciding to start charging the $1.90 per hour session fee, did someone suggest perhaps stopping any existing multi-month sessions as of the onset of that fee, unless a customer explicitly opted out? Presumably, you must have placed that Amazonian on a pip instead of promoting them for their customer obsession and empathy, if so. 6, is tricking customers into paying fees that even a cloud economist didn't see coming a new AWS operating practice? And 7, at $2,000 a month per session, does this mean that AWS was being incredibly generous in letting me run that valuable computing resource to the tune of $14,000 before kindly asking me to start paying my own way? Or is the service instead astronomically priced to the point where it bears little, if any, relation to AWS's underlying cost structure? If the latter, is this an attempt to price based upon value? If so, don't you think that you should try delivering actual value before pricing it? To be clear, none of these questions are rhetorical. I expect answers. I always empathize with the usual billing panics and have sympathy for customers who get caught in strange billing edge cases, but this particular pattern takes AWS billing to an entirely new level of predatory. When I'm falling victim to it, I worry about who else out there is as well. If this is going to be AWS's path going forward, I'd like to know so that I may plan accordingly.
This has been a Humble Pod production. Stay humble.